Well, hello and welcome to all of our gold delegates from around the world. I'm Fiona Lang Sharp, IBCLC and MC here at Gold Learning, Director of Communications, of course, for all of our Gold Learning Network. It's great to be here with you today. I'm kind of excited again, and I say that because I feel like I've got so much to learn today from the wonderful Laurie Overland, a little bit intimidated by all the amazing work that she's done over these years. So let me tell you, I can't wait to pick her brain in just a moment. But first of all, big reminder here. Today, of course, we're going to be talking about our tongue tie symposium, which is coming up really soon here at Gold Learning. You'll be able to check out all the details on our website at goldlearning.com. It's going to be live. That's right, live, folks, for 2 days straight. It's going to be very busy. So hunker down, get ready, get your notepads ready, all the treats that you need to be focused on learning. Now, listen, if you can't come for the 2 live days, we make it super convenient for you because we set you up so that you'll be able to listen to the recordings too. But let me tell you, it's going to be a lot of fun when we're going to be doing the live sessions too. So with that, I have a very special guest here. Laurie, it's so great to have you here. Thank you for joining me here today.
Well, thank you, Fiona, for having me. Actually, when you did that lovely introduction, I was thinking I'm the one that's intimidated by all the brilliant IBCLCs and the opportunity to share. I'm actually working on my hours for my IBCLC and learning so much
Wow.
every day and having the opportunity to share with Dr. Christina Smiley's
Aw,
team.
yeah.
So it really is a give and take. So I'm very excited to be participating in this Gold Learning Symposium.
Oh, well, that's wonderful. Well, that's the thing about doing these symposiums is that we really are all learning together, especially when we're bringing together all these different types of specialists, because we all very focused in different areas. And when we come together and collaborate, we're here to serve our families better. And that's what it's all about. We want to be sure that they are getting the best care, the best treatment, the best professionals that there are in the world. And I know that that's what the emphasis is when we come together, and I know how dedicated you are in the field. So let's talk more about Laurie. I warned Laurie off offline that I was going to be quizzing her with some questions about her career and all those types of things, but I think we forgot to tell everybody where you are in the world, because I know with our international audience listening in today, they probably want to know exactly where you're situated. So why don't you tell them where you are, Laurie, in the world, and perhaps what your day-to-day work life looks like?
So I live in the beautiful state of Connecticut. I'm about an hour outside of New York City in the tri-state area. And I live in a town called Wilton, Connecticut. And we have beautiful mountains and greenery, and we're really actually close to the water. So I kind of have the best of both worlds, both the water and the green mountains. So, what does my life look like on a day-to-day basis? Well, every time I think I'm going to slow down, I find something else I need to learn or I need to do. I always say that this is a journey, and the day I think I know everything, I am going to retire. So, on a day-to-day basis, I am in my office usually 3 days a week.
Nice.
I'm in Dr. Christina Smiley's office 1 day a week. And when Cathy Watson Jenna and I happen to be in the same country at the same time, I try and go down at least once or twice a month to spend some time with Cathy.
Oh,
In
wonderful.
addition to that, I travel and teach both nationally and internationally. So twice a month, I'm someplace in the world. And as much as I'm teaching, I'm always learning. So I love what I do.
Oh,
And I went from working with a very wide age range to getting younger and younger and younger. And at this point, my population is primarily infants and toddlers and preschoolers. And the majority of what I do is evaluations and writing program plans
Hmm.
for other therapists. So that
Oh,
was a lot of information for one
no,
question. Sorry
that's
about that.
great. I painted that picture, in my mind. I'm thinking about everything from the trees to your trips in to see Kathy Watson Jenna, and how delightful that must be
Oh, she's
to
brilliant. Oh my
be
goodness. I
surrounded
mean,
by, even with Tina Smiley, who we know very well here at Gold Learning as well. I mean, they are just such great resources to work with. And I was just chatting with Kathy recently um, about what's happening and what she's been doing. So now I'm just jealous. I'm just like, well, I want to live the life of Lori for a couple of days, maybe. It sounds like a lot of fun. That's great.
you know, Kathy is the person that first got me thinking about the impact of tethered oral tissue
Mm,
on feeding, really through the ages. Kathy and I were sharing a baby,
hmm.
and Kathy's so generous with her knowledge.
Mm,
I feel like that game show where, you get to ask the expert. So
right,
I can't tell you how often I call Kathy and say, help. But we were
right,
sharing a baby, and
right.
she was showing me some videos of studies that she had done looking at ultrasounds of babies with and without tongue ties. And I
Mm,
looked at her and I said, oh my goodness, Kath, I feel like I've missed so many
mm,
older children over the
right.
years who never got picked up as infants or toddlers and had lifelong feeding issues. And this was probably 15 years ago. And I went back and started to relook at how I was doing evaluations
Wow.
and found that there was a really big missing link when it came to feeding and looking at tethered oral tissue.
Yeah.
So Kathy opened a lot of doors for me.
Yeah, I think overall, first of all, I would say you're the pinnacle of collaboration because here we were talking about how this, symposium is built on those types of foundations that we're bringing, a whole, selection of experts together so that we can collaborate. But you yourself have practiced this already. So this is why, it makes you ideal in this situation. But, learning from some of the best that are out there, having access to that. And you're right, so many of the people that work in this field are very generous with their time. But you and me both, Lori, my practice has changed too. I may have told you this before, but things have changed and they continue to change. I want to be the person that's open-minded about it, and it is hard because you get yourself into a place where you're doing something and it seems like it's working, but there is something better out there. So I just want to, I'm going to say that out loud so other people can hold me accountable to my own words. I want to be open to hearing what others have to say about, tethered oral tissue, no matter where they land in this field, so that I can be receptive to all the things that I need to learn in order to do a better job for our families.
Well, that's so interesting the way you frame that, but I feel like when I first got into the field of speech pathology 38 or 39 years ago, the big topic was tympanostomy tubes, ear tubes. And
Oh,
first, every child that ever had an ear infection got tubes. And then
isn't that true?
no one got tubes. And then we figured out where we needed to be. So the ENT community, the audiological community, speech pathologists, there was kind of like this research, this journey. And I feel like that's where we are with tethered oral tissue.
Right.
We are nowhere near truly knowing what we need to be doing. I feel like every day I'm learning something new. I feel like the research we can barely keep up with it. Robin Walsh and I teach a class on tethered oral tissue, and
Right.
literally every time we teach, we're putting new research into the
Phenomenal.
class. And it's really exciting, but it's a little scary too, because you think about what I do today. Am I going to look back in 6 months and go, "Oh no, what did I do?"
Yeah,
So, we can only do the best that we can at any given
that is true.
point in time with our knowledge base, and it's never about us. It's always about the kids and the families that we
Yeah.
serve. And you know, I I always want to learn and I always want to listen, and I'm hoping, I can share a little and learn a lot.
Love it. I love that. Well, let's switch gears a little bit because I wanted to get a chance to talk about some of the other things that you do and you've done. I know you mentioned your teaching with Robin Walsh and collaborating and all the rest of it. You've got books as well, Laurie. Tell me about these books. Are they, when did you have the opportunity to contribute towards them? And,
So,
yeah, tell me.
the first book that I wrote with Robin Walsh was A Sensory Motor Approach to Feeding.
Hmm.
And I've been teaching for the past, oh my goodness, 20 something years, a course on a sensory motor approach to feeding. And Sarah Rosenfeld Johnson, who started Talk Tools, asked me 25 years ago to write a book. And I'm like, yeah, when I have time. And that never happened.
Right.
And one day, Robin Walsh said to me, like in 2012, she said to me, "You need to put this in writing." And I
Mm.
said, "I hate to write." And she said, "I'm coming to your class, I'm transcribing what you do, and we're writing a book." So we wrote A Sensory Motor Approach to Feeding. And when we finished that book, I said to her, "I will never write another book. I love to teach. I love working with children and families. I really dislike writing and editing. To me, it is just, oh, the most tedious work." So when we started this journey on tethered oral tissue, Robin
Right.
said to me, "We're going to write a book." And I said, "No, no, no, you're going to write a book. I am not writing a book." So one day we were teaching together at Asha Connect, which was during the summer, and we're sitting outside at this lovely restaurant having a drink. And she goes, "Well, if we were going to write the book, let's just kind of pen out what the chapters would look like." So we're sitting there and we're like writing this. The next day, Robin has it on Facebook, and I'm like, "Robin, I am not writing a book." So Robin's really convincing, but she actually didn't convince me at that point in time. I have three and a half grandchildren, and my first two grandchildren had tongue ties.
Right.
Um, and so, to make a really long story short, one of them, after a laser release and after active wound management, I had given them exercises for neuromuscular reeducation.
Hmm.
And when the dentist who did the release said, "You don't have to do the active wound management anymore," they just stopped doing everything.
Mm.
And my granddaughter was nursing great. When they introduced puree, she did okay. And they live in Washington, so I didn't have the opportunity at the time to see her on a daily basis, so I didn't know
Sure.
they had stopped the exercises.
Sure.
So they introduced solid foods,
Hmm.
and Addie gagged and choked and threw up. So
Oh,
my brilliant son calls the pediatrician, who says to him, "Oh, it takes some kids longer than others. Give her a couple of weeks." So a
sure.
couple of weeks later, they try the same thing. Same thing happens. They call the pediatrician again. Now, don't call your mother just because she does feeding therapy. Call the pediatrician.
God.
So they call the pediatrician again, who says, "Oh, just wait." At this point, she sees solid food and she starts gagging. At
Hmm.
that point, my son calls me and I'm like, "Are you kidding me? Like, you stopped doing the exercises?" So he said, "Dr. Janju told me that we didn't have to do them." I said, "No, no, no. She didn't. I've shared tons of kids with her. I know she told you to stop doing the active wound management." And it
Hmm.
just so happens I was going down to DC to teach a course, and I said, "Do not go near her with solids until I get down there." So I reintroduced the exercises and taught my son and daughter-in-law how to do them. And I came back again a couple of weeks later and I sent them out to dinner, set up my camera and introduced solid foods and then slowly got them, comfortable doing this. And once Addie was eating just about everything, my brilliant son, who's a lawyer and not too bright, obviously, looks at me and he goes, Mom, what do people do if they don't have you? At which point I called Robin Walsh and said, All right, we're writing a book. And she goes, I knew I'd talk you into it. And I said, Yeah, it really wasn't you that talked me into it. But so
So
that was
that's what happens, right? It's
that was
those
the journey.
personal life experiences sometimes determine what we do next, which is just amazing. And for the folks,
Absolutely.
I imagine with some of the folks listening in, they can probably relate to that story that, those of us that are in the field that have these personal experiences certainly spur us along. And I'm sure you've had some other experiences that have, sent you in different directions that you thought maybe you wouldn't be in. But isn't that amazing?
Yeah.
And it's great because it really does make us better at what we do in order to serve the families that we care so much about. So that's such a lovely story. Thank you for sharing, Laurie.
Oh, you're welcome. And thank you for everything that you do. I'm just enamored with what Gold Learning does and so excited to make that part of my journey too,
Excellent. Well,
as I go through my IBCLC
yeah,
training.
exactly. It'll be exciting. You'll have to keep us updated. Well, thank you so much for, joining us here today and talking about, what's going to be coming up as well and what you've been doing. Just lastly, before we wrap things up here, tell us just a smidge. We've just got a minute or so left here, but why don't you just let the folks listening in know what they should expect from your presentation on the day?
So I think this is a really important piece of the puzzle, and one of the things that I found out by working with amazing IBCLCs is that after active wound management has been completed, nobody, or I shouldn't say nobody, but many people are not looking at how to retrain the muscles for sucking. And that's really what this is about. Neuromuscular reeducation is very different than active wound management. And I hope that after my presentation, people will know the difference. And I know it's made a big difference. I think if you ask Dr. Smiley this question,
Mm-hmm.
she would say it's totally made a difference in how they're looking at the babies that they're working with, post frenotomy. So very
Oh, I love
excited
that.
to share.
Yeah, I love that little teaser there. That's excellent. Thank you so much, Laurie. That's awesome. Well, I'll certainly look forward to learning some more from you on the day. Excited to have you again with us. So thank you so much for sitting down and joining me here today and just wrapping things up here. Of course, quick reminder to those listening in. This is going to be such a wonderful 2-day event. It's going to be very busy, very jam-packed. So get prepared, get ready. Everything's online, of course, at goldlearning.com, and you'll be able to check out all the other individual speakers and presenters that are going to be with us on those 2 days. Register now for this event. There's great ways to do that. You can find us easily, of course, on that website at goldlearning.com. Of course, you'll find us on our social media sites. We're on Instagram and Facebook and Twitter. You can follow along there. Be sure to connect with us on there as well. I will say, just as a quick reminder, that you will be able to listen to the recordings as well. So even if you can only listen to a couple of the live events. One of the advantages I will tell you, though, is, of course, Laurie is going to be with us here live, and she's going to be fielding questions on the day with me, facilitating them with her. So that's going to be a great opportunity. If you've got some specific questions that you've already thought about, she's going to be here live as well during those live events. So that's awesome. Well, thank you, Laurie. It's been so good having you here today. And of course, to all of you, our listening audience, thanks for joining us again. We'll look forward to having you back very soon. But for now, we'll say bye-bye.